Hey, how's it going? I'm Machine the producer, and now I'm going to show you how I use STL ToneHub, my STL ToneHub pack, in a mix. I have a song here by Capstan that I produced early in the year, and this is such a great example of a song to use because the outro of this song just has so many dimensions and elements of and different sounds working together, doing pretty awesome things together that I could really showcase what I've created here and in these presets for you guys. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna build this big, solid rock section and show you how I can sculpt voices with these tones and show you how I pick these things, show you how I marry a bass tone that works with that. And then we're gonna take it up another level and show you how I can put clean, beautiful belly tones over wall of sound and other little tricks and effects that we'll throw in there. So let's get started. Let's start with just our basic rhythm. This is like a pounding guitar part I'll play for you. I wanted a good to start. You know, our big rhythm sounds are stereo, right? And I made I'll tell you, I made a really interesting discovery while I was creating this pack. I was going through lots of my previous work, and I've had certain people along the way say to me, "Hey, Machine, how did you get this big guitar sound? Or how did you get that big guitar sound?" And kind of what I discovered actually, as of quite recently, is some of the times where it's a big sound, the reason it's big is because of actually the different characters that happen left and right. A lot of the times we think to stereo track a rhythm and it's the same sound and we just double it. What I find is sometimes the biggest sounds are differences, imperfection between what is left and what is right. And that gives you the perception of size, because you have these stereo speakers, right? And what makes something stereo is they're doing independent things, right? If the speakers were doing the exact same thing, that would be mono. That would be like a kick drum, right? So by taking what is left and what is right and changing where the character the mid sits, and that is what I often found creates some of the biggest stereo rhythm guitar tones. So let me show you how I chose that and how I can use elements of this plugin to find areas that are different but work together amazingly for one big rhythm sound. So I started with one side and I chose my 55 preset Probot. Let's check that out. Good, basic, full range rock tone. That was the left. On the right, so that, I chose preset 21 for stronger, thicker, fatter, strong. No, actually, it's called thicker, fatter, stronger. 4 strong, thicker, fatter, stronger. And if we go in and we look at that, that one was taken from a Bogner Ecstasy. And the other side, Probot, that was modeled from an Orange Rock Verb. 2 totally different amps. Same guy performing. It was the same guitar, but it's a lot easier for me while using this plugin to just go out there and try different amps that will pair together really well. And putting them together, this is what we have. And in the mix, so as I said, my goal here was, well, first, it was very easy for me to flip around presets and find a pair that works. So let's roll through that example. I started with 55 Probot. I pulled up another sound on the right side. All right, let me show you one of my favorite things about my preset pack is this column here called Notes. I've been very thorough. If you click on that, everything will be organized by notes. And if you see the way I've arranged this, everything is labeled in a way that shows its function. So, such a good tool for searching for sounds quickly. You have all the bases are together, and starting with their amount of gain, clean to low gain to mid gain to high gain, and then after that labeled with a style, a suggested style that this may work in. There's 23 bass sounds that do a million different things, a million different characters. Over to, again, same philosophy, over to the way I organize guitars. It starts by labeling their gain stage, clean to low gain to mid gain to high gain. And then after that, other characteristics like high gain fuzz, high gain lead, high gain suggested for metal, high gain for quads. And we're going to get into what quads are later in this. So just an incredible tool to be able to be creating and know you want a certain style of the sound, be able to click on notes and audition quite quickly. So we were saying that I'll show you how now let's get back to the mix here. I'll show you how I was doing this sound. So here I'm looking at this alternate right sound, and I'm organized it by notes, and it's another high gain metal sound. So since I'm selected on notes, I have all these other options to quickly audition and try. I will not just, it's not just soloing the one sound. What I like to do is I like to reference what the sound is going to be like in the real world, which is I will audition the different moving characters of this tone based off while the other left side is playing. Now let's flip through the different quick options we have here in high gain metal while we're listening to the other side. And you can just see how those mid-range characters are changing and shifting. And so here we are, we landed back on For You're Strong. Now let's take that a little further. There's great elements to this. There's great conveniences to just being able to do this with a plugin versus things that I just would never do. For example, moving the mics around in this is incredibly realistic. This again shifts. Another great way of shifting the character of your mid. So this is another thing I did when I was using these in the mix. I opened both sounds. I went to both cabs, and I listened to where the mid-range character shifted just by moving the mic. Now bringing in the other one and listening as a pair while shifting. And there it is. I don't know what they're doing individually, but as a unit, it sounds huge. And the truth is that they're two totally different amps and two totally different sounds. Same philosophy for bass. On this case scenario, I used a sound called preset 84, The Wrong Way, which is a blown up Ampeg SVT. But again, let's go over here to the notes section, and I see this as a high gain rock sound, rock indie sound, right? So Now let's click on notes and organize by notes. And now we can see right around that are a handful other high gain rock sounds. So let's just, at the click of a button, flip through amps. And now there's a big deal with bass guitar. When you have a heavy part, right, it's like, in a lot of rock music, the bass is playing the guitar riff, right? So thinking of those as a unit working together, it's like, you know, you're really, in a way, you're still building the same riff. That's the way I look at it. So again, we're positioning, you know, and when you say bass in rock music, it's like, sure, bass guitar has bass frequencies, but a lot of the character of how we identify our bass sound is from the mid-range portion of that bass guitar. So again, by being able to just flip through sounds in the mix, I can find a character that marries in with those guitars that feels good, that just sounds sweet. Let's give it a shot. This is starting with the one I chose. It's a really shreddy, buzzy sound. Now let's do some things to the preset to shift its character around. First of all, in scoping that EQ, I'll show you what I do a lot of times. A lot of times, instead of just EQ, right? If you look at this plugin, this is like a routing. Stomp box, there's an order to this. Like stomp box is what would go first, like in your plugin amp, into the amplifier section, right? Which is its tracing amplifier, to the cabinet, to its EQ, which is post, right? And to external effects, more like mix effects, not effects that would be pre-cab. Mix would be post amp or post cabinet. So now there's a very big difference between an EQ post, like you would in the mixing console, versus, this is why they put this here in the stomp section. I use this all the time. There is a graphic EQ. Now this is a really cool way to do it because you're EQing before the amplifier. So when you're raising frequencies, you're actually raising the distortion character of those frequencies. Very different than just taking your sound and EQing. You want lows, bringing up the lows in the sound. EQing with this pedal before the amp is also adding, if you're adding lows, you're also adding low end distortion. So it's a very different style and effect to EQ before the amp versus post the amp. And this is what I love to do. Let's solo the bass in the mix and move the mic around the speaker to find that character. Okay, now let's hear that as a mix with the rhythm guitars. I will solo the rhythm guitars. I'll add the bass in there. And super quick, I was just able to find that sweet spot with that mic where that mid-range character, that density, the high end, somewhat closer to the cone, just match the whole guitar riff unit. In essence, EQing, but with a microphone. Something that's pretty difficult to do with real amps. Now let's put it in the mix. That is an awesome wall of sound. That was super fast and easy for me to audition with different sounds that work together as a pair and sculpt real quickly. Next, I'll show you the lead tone I use for this. In this song, this lead has one of these cool stoner rock, ambient, trilly leads. I chose preset 14, an affliction lead, which comes up all wet and interesting already from the top. And I'll show you what some of these effects look like in here. This has an amazing reverb. I'm using the plate, which is a little brighter than the Hall. And there's a little slapback. There's a little delay, a quarter note time delay, which is synced with the tempo of the song. And then here's another thing. You know, I'm often, when I'm recording bands, I'm often on the pedals, tweaking and things and in moments, and having to record this to the drive and freaking everyone out. But, you know, what's great is, you know, on these plugins, every parameter is automatable. So we can do like crazy cool things, like we can do like delay throws, and we can just do that with automation. And if we don't have it right, we can fix it later, and we don't have to commit. So let me show you what I did with that. Let's just play it first. So let's open up the automation and see what I did. Feedback. So let's go to the delay, and you'll see here, I'll show you how this was done. I will delete that. Now, one of the quickest ways I like to put my DAW into automations, you know, you can go through the many parameters and try to find it. Look at that. It's crazy amount. Every single thing is automatable. One way I like to do it is, okay, I know I'm going to take that feedback, the amount of repeats, and I'm going to give it an effect at the end and just make it continue on. So the easy thing is me, I just put my DAW into touch, and I have my starting point. I play it before the solo. I just touch the feedback. It's written that little thing, and now I can work from here. So I'm going to go right up to that last note, and I'm going to make that last continue on and on and on. Let's put the feedback up something crazy. You'll see this knob automatically go up. And there's a really cool long delay trail. We'll solo that. That's super long. Let's do it a little less. And let's say, like I said, anything's automatable. So let's just go into touch. And now this has a high pass and a low pass. So now let's just, as it's delaying out, let's scoop the high end off of it. It was a little tastier. As it went down, it just got a little darker. And super fun and super easy to do. So let's check it out. Right on. Okay, I'm looking forward to showing you guys this. This is definitely, I'm about to show you one of my favorite presets. I'm a really big fan of these aggressive, punchy, compressed, semi-clean sounds, like the way The Killers does their melodic leads. They're often stratty, telly type sounds they're indie, they're clean, they're compressed and punchy, but there's a layer of dirt with them that allows them just to sit with the beautiful melodies on top of heavy parts, heavy guitar parts, heavy synth parts. So for this and this wall of sound part, I have this beautiful melody, this belly melody, and I'm going to show you what tones I used. For this one, let me pull it up. I used my preset number 10 belly punch. Great. And I was thinking, like, how could you have something that's so dense, so wall of sound, and then put a beautiful clean part on top of it? These are the kind of sounds that work for that. And check this out. Great. And remember what I was talking about before, which was I double track this lead. Remember I was talking about before about changing subtle differences, right? Here's my right side for what I did with the belly punchy sound. And I brought in a copy of that on the left. But now let's tweak on that and do something a little different with it. So I went into the effects section. I went into the phase. And what I did was I added a deeper phase to that side than the other. Now let's put the two together. Again, this is the whole philosophy on this thing. So doing subtle differences left and right to make the end all be all bigger sound. Let's hear that together. Great. Then lastly, we performed another layer of that same riff an octave up to add that higher octave color. And that sounds like this. I'll bring that in. And there you have it. Beautiful, clean, on top of wall of sound dirty. A pretty cool technique on how to do it. One other quick thing, it was very fun. There's a transitional pick scrape. Like I was saying, with my presets, there's very often suggested styles. This is a sound number 33, the ultimate pick scraper. And which is just a heavy, compressed, distorted sound that works really good for the action of how your pick is going to sound, shredding that white noise sound over your mix. Let's hear how that sounds. Ouch, but good. And I was just able to take that in the mix, automate the pan. solo that. So to sum it up, there you have it. You have wall of sound, easily sculptable character to make different sounding left and rights that much bigger. And then how to put beauty on top of chaos. How to take wall of distortion and shred and put clean-esque melodies on top of it to make the biggest, baddest sounds you can make. All with like quickly selectable, quickly editable, quickly automatable tones.